I often get asked what is the best dubbed anime of all time. And honestly, I can go with some of the classics out there like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or pretty much any shonen anime that I grew up with from 2000 to the early 2010s, to be honest with you. But if we're talking about what is the best fun bad dub anime of all time, easily hands down, it's going to be Ghost Stories dub. Yeah, gonna be talking about this one today because I figured let's do it back to back about me talking about Ghost Pop Tape yesterday. I'm gonna talk about Ghost Stories, the dub anime itself, and why this show is like a masterclass of giving us some of the best fun bad moments that the anime has to offer. So bear with me as I talk about Ghost Stories dub in a nutshell. So once again, Ghost Stories dub. This is the anime that came out back in the fall season of the 2000 by Period Studios, a studio that I think every anime fanatic should know at this point. They're known for some coming out with some of the biggest names of all anime. If we even sort out to like the by score by the members, there's a pretty big names here that you all should be familiar with, like Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, Naruto, GTO. I mean, they have are known for coming out some of the biggest, most well known, and iconic animes come out. And somewhere in the year 2000, during the fall season of 2000, we had shows like Inuyasha, Hajime no Ippo, Gravitation, Vandred. These shows were basically the big shows that came out in the during the coming of fall 2000. And somewhere, Ghost Stories is at the very top, but for reasons that unfortunately kind of has plagued the show to this day. So, um, with Ghost Stories, a little bit of background to what the show's all about, what it's trying to go for. Essentially, if you watch the actual Ghost Stories anime itself and not the dub version, it's actually about, again, as I'm going to read the synopsis here, point blank period, it's about this. Years ago, all the ghosts in the haunted schoolhouse were banished by a certain student. Now they're back, and they want revenge. And of course, Satsuki and Kichiro Miyoshita are two siblings who cry for this tragic loss of their mother. After moving to their mother's hometown, they learn that the local school that they transferred to is an old building, one said to be haunted and spooky and creepy. Right off the bat, before I continue reading this, does this sound a little bit familiar to you? Because if you already haven't pieced together what the plot synopsis is all about, this synopsis is easily kind of sort of like Scooby Doo, like the Scooby Doo franchise, but if Scooby Doo decides to become like a really shitty dog shit anime. So the premise itself is pretty one to one a ripoff of Scooby Doo, the cartoon franchise juggernaut. But moving on to synopsis. Despite initially brushing it off as a silly rumor, the two soon discover that ghosts are indeed real and that they're after them. And Ghost Stories is the creepy tale of the lives of these siblings and their newfound friends as they try to survive the school ghosts with a little help from their pet cat along the way. Again, you have all the ingredients and the formula to making a knockoff version of the Scooby Doo franchise. And I think we can agree that's what it's trying to go for. Now, of course, this show unfortunately bombed, not surprisingly, in Japan when this first came out. So when this was eventually turned over to the Western states, pretty much the English dub actors, when they looked at the script, they're like, "Nah, screw this original serious script. We're gonna go at it and just go ballistic. We're gonna just dub however the way we see it and how we do it because this show bombed. This is gonna be successful. What's the point?" And man, I don't know who the original dub actors were, but holy fucking shit, they crushed every role in this dub voice acting. It is crazy to break down every character, what they do in this show, and how dumb it is. And again, it for starters, the dub version of Ghost Stories is completely different from its Japanese counterpart, where now it's just every scene, every moment where it's like really serious or really epic is all turned down and distilled to like a really shitty version of its former self, but it's delivered in the most fun bad dub anime imaginable. And it's kind of interesting that if you were to show ghost stories now, a lot of people will assume that okay, maybe someone just kind of made this as a bit of a shit post, and that essentially this was made not too long ago. Or maybe this came out 10 plus years ago when they were dubbing it as like a fan anime service kind of thing, because that was really big back in the early days of anime YouTube. But no, this is legit real. If you look up Ghost Stories dub right now from any streaming platform that you can find, you will find dub animes of the actual anime being portrayed here. You can even look up Ghost Stories dub on YouTube, and there are tons of compilations and shorts talking about like some of the biggest holy shit moments of Ghost Stories in a nutshell. Again, I can't even like reiterate the fucking lines in Ghost Stories dub because of how obviously super outdated and offensive a lot of the jokes and the humor is for an anime that came out back in the year 2000, mind you. But either way, there's some pretty iconic moments that looking at some of the still images, it really gets me like freaking laughing and loving the show all the way. It's really something. I definitely remember this scene. I remember every fucking scene Ghost Stories made so iconic and stupid for a valid reason. There's even comparisons to again the original and the dub that's also available on YouTube. So again, in a nutshell, I feel like Ghost Stories, the dub version, really encapsulates what is now known like how to make a parody anime, in my opinion. Because prior to shows that came out, and prior to like maybe YouTube animators like making parodies of like a pretty big show, we never had animes that were kind of going in this realm. And I think Ghost Stories dub was like the gold standard of how to make a parody anime into a real life station. And I think whether they did it or not, they unintentionally like really did this show crazy. Again, this is like what would happen if Mariko Chan decided to go into like the dumb, stupid, lazy route, or what would happen if you decide to take Dawn to Dawn of all things, and you decide to make instead of like taking the humor that Dawn Dawn is known for as of late, like they decide to elevate that to a whole new level and just make it. Now we're not going to follow the script. We're not going to follow what they're saying. Screw that. We're going to reduce Dawn Dawn to just the bare fucking essentials and just talk about what I feel like I want to talk about today as I'm dubbing an anime. So, yeah, overall, Ghost Stories dub is an amazing masterpiece of a dub show. 19 episodes of this, it is worth the watch. It is 100% worth the watch. Like, again, granted, you're not going to understand the whole story. You're not going to really keep track of everything. In fact, you're literally just going to be here watching this for all the funny, comedic, and weird moments that are just so out of the blue, out of shape. Again, there's a lot of moments where the characters are retarded or just straight up offending people for one way or another. It's super out there and really crazy to say the least. And again, I know retarded is a really bad word to say now in the current day and age, unfortunately, but like they use that word so many times in this anime that unapologetically makes it really crazy to like watch for anyone who doesn't want to hear that word pop out. But overall, again, Ghost Stories dub is by far a masterpiece of a fun, bad, trashy dub anime that was done so well ahead of its time, and I think that it's a show that's going to be shared for many years to come. So yeah, wanted to talk about Ghost Stories dub because, let's do it back to back. Talk about two ghosts, but in two different scenarios, I could say. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one later.